All right. So welcome everyone to the Pacific Northwest Opportunities Fund webinar. My name is Jeffrey Basilio and I serve as the Pacific Northwest District Key Club District Treasurer and PNWOF Committee Chair. I would like to thank everyone for attending tonight's webinar and showing interest in applying to the Pacific Northwest Opportunities Fund grant. At tonight's webinar, we will cover various topics such as how to select a service project, what a successful application may look like, and hear directly from previous PNWOF grant applicants. Now let's get started. First, I'd like to introduce the members of the PNWOF committee. Just to reintroduce myself, my name is Jeffrey Basilio. I use he, him pronouns, and I serve as the PNW Key Club District Treasurer.
My name is Leonie Kim. I'm the Lieutenant Governor of Division AYS, and I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nina Hockman. I'm Lieutenant Governor, Division 26, and I use she, her pronouns.
My name is Kylie Diep, and I'm the Lieutenant Governor of Division 32, and I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Adam Tan. I'm Lieutenant Governor of Division 54, and I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne Martin. I'm Lieutenant Governor of Division 82, and I use she, her pronouns.
All right, this is a reminder that during this webinar, there's going to be a lot of information shared. And while the slides are going to be shared at the end of the webinar, we ask that you be very cutesy, very demure, and take notes as needed so that you can possibly save your questions for the end of the webinar when we have that open Q&A. So now that we have all introduced ourselves, let's talk about what exactly the PNWOF is. The PNWOF, also known as the Pacific Northwest Opportunities Fund, is a grant provided by the district to assist with funding a club's unique service project that either benefits a club's local community at large or the district project, the SEED initiative, Ending Youth Houselessness. It is helpful to know that your club must be in good standing as a dues paid member or a dues paid club rather, to be eligible to apply for this grant. The grant amount ranges from $100 to $1,000 and can cover up to 2/3 of the anticipated cost of the project. The PNWOF application is now open and closes on October 31st, 2024. The PNWOF application can be found both on our website and on our Instagram in the link tree. You can follow our Instagram at PNW Key Club or go to pnwkeyclub.org to learn more about the PNWOF application. Recipients will be notified in mid to late November, and winners are officially announced at the district convention in Seattle, Washington. If your club would like to hold a high impact service project but is lacking the funds, this is the great opportunity for you to carry out your project. As the deadline quickly approaches, now would be the perfect time to get in touch with your club's officer board and advisors to begin planning out the service project you would like to create and thinking about the application process itself. With this, I'll pass it on to Lieutenant Governor of Division 54, Adam Tan, to go over the application details and its deadlines.
Thank you, Jeffrey. So there are 4 sections to the application. The first is simply information about the applicant and contact information. The second section provides information about the project itself. This will be the type of project you plan to perform and what you hope to accomplish with it. It can be like giving hygiene products or doing back to school drives. In section 3, you will need to provide more specific information about the project, such as the timeline, budget, and materials needed. In the final section, you will be asked for signatures and to review application contacts. The signatures include things like the quantity advisor and the faculty advisor. The following slide, for slide number 7, provides valuable guidance for completing the application process efficiently. You can access the list of questions from the application through our website, through the PNWOF website at pnwkeyclub.org. And from there, we suggest that you copy and paste the questions onto a Google Doc. This will assist the rest of your officer board, advisors, and whoever else is helping you plan this project access and review your responses well before transferring to the application. Next, make sure to proofread your responses. This will make it easier for us to read and understand, and it'll get you a higher chance at actually getting the PNWOF grant. Finally, be sure to double check all names and contact information so we're able to reach the right person. With that, I'll pass it on to Yuna of Division 26 to go over each section in more detail.
Thank you, Adam. Once you've completed section 1 of the application, it's time to provide more information about your service project. The application asks for the name of the project, date/time the project is to be completed, a description of your project in detail, why you are seeking the grant, whom/what you are seeking to benefit, and how this project will benefit them/it. Additionally, there are specific questions inquiring, have you done this project before? If yes, explain. An example of meaningful responses to these specific questions are provided on the screen. As you can see, when the application asks for a detailed description, the example provides what the project is. In this case, it would be gathering resources to support a supply drive for the wildlife relief shelter. This example also provides the intended purpose of the grant and numerous reasons in detail as to why this project would be beneficial. In addition, note that these responses are not phrases or one-word answers, but full descriptive sentences. The more thorough your answers are, the more information you have to consider when evaluating the application. This example of the project information response gives us an understanding of your progress on the project. Additionally, it provides details on your ability to successfully complete the project if awarded the grant. As you can see, this club details the steps they've already taken to begin their project. A key factor taken into consideration during the evaluation is your club's ability to successfully execute the project. In this example, you can see that the club has already worked out logistics of the project with their advisors, school, Kiwanis Club, and the shelter they plan on donating to. Receiving the PNWOF grant will be the last step to successfully complete their project because all the other details have already been worked out. The next section of the application asks for your project timeline. 2 examples are shown on the screen now. Notice how both examples provide dates when the tasks will be completed and deliverables. This shows that the club planned ahead. It is important to provide a timeline that is as detailed as possible so the committee can ensure that your club will be able to execute the project and finish on time. While creating your timeline and budget, we recommend using Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. To create an accurate budget, we recommend using Amazon or Walmart to find generic prices of the items you will need for the project. Another helpful tool are price matchers, which can help you find optimized costs so you can make the most out of the funds you request. Use Google Sheets or Excel to keep track of each item you purchase to make the accounting aspect much quicker, more accessible, and more accurate. As you can see, on the right is an example of a budgeted and materials submission. The club provided a detailed list of each item they planned on purchasing and what the price they found was. The final step of the application is providing your signature in the application. Though we are collecting digital signatures, forgery is still illegal. You will need the approval and signatures of the applicant, club president, faculty advisor, and Kiwanis advisor. Make sure to start communicating with all parties early in order to receive signatures in a timely manner. Next, I'll pass it off to the LTG of Division 32, Kylie, to discuss how to successfully organize and plan a high-impact project.
Thank you, Yuna. There are multiple parts to planning an impactful and successful service project. Here are some tips on how to organize your service project or fundraiser. First, it's important to recognize the purpose of your project. You need to identify a cause, something that your community needs. This could be anything from access to nutritious food or greater awareness of mental health issues. From there, you can brainstorm project ideas that target this cause. A few ideas are provided on the screen. These could include supporting our district project supply drives to provide for basic essential needs or natural disaster relief assistance. Continuously examine your project and make sure the end result is benefiting the cause you've chosen. If your club is interested in applying for the PNWOF grant, be sure to thoroughly discuss the project with your club officer board, faculty advisor, Kiwanis advisor, and sponsoring Kiwanis Club beforehand. The application process isn't easy, so it's important that all of you are on the same page about the project and application. Your advisors and Kiwanis clubs can be a valuable resource in helping you plan or execute your project, so be sure to keep them in the loop. Don't forget, you will also need signatures of approval from them at the end of the application. During the planning process, you may need to delegate tasks to your fellow officers, ask questions of your advisors, and email faculty or facility or school coordinators. Remember to be concise with your communications, but also very clear about what you need. If you delegate tasks to someone, remember to check in on them before the task is due. As always, stay respectful and remember to be gracious. Of course, there are a lot of moving parts that come with planning a service project, but you can do it. The key is to get started early and check in with your team members or whoever is planning with you to make sure that you're on track to get everything sorted out. Here are some things to take into account. First, you need to set the date and time of the project. Communicate this decision with your advisors, officers, and members so everyone is on the same page. Setting this early will ensure that you have a lot of time to plan and also give people early notice to put in the event in their schedule. Next, you will need to figure out supplies. Figure out the supplies you'll need and how much they'll cost, since that will influence the amount you request from the PNWOF. Since the PNWOF grant only covers 2/3 of the cost, you also need to figure out how you'll cover the rest. Will you use club funds? Will you host a fundraiser? Will you ask your Kiwanis Club for support? Be sure to start planning and thinking about this early on. You also need to figure out your venue. If you're starting something like a community garden, you'll likely need to work with your Kiwanis Club and local city officials to choose a permanent spot. Venue space usually takes a while to get approved, so make sure you do this early and talk to your advisors to work out the correct process. Finally, you'll need to talk to your club members and get enough volunteers for this project. Make the cause of the project clear and emphasize the importance of their role in its success. Depending on the size of the club, you'll probably need a sign-up sheet to keep track of who's coming and when. Finally, if you have any questions or need help figuring something out, there's a lot of places you can ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Your faculty and Kiwanis advisor are great resources, since they've probably planned many projects before. You can also talk to your lieutenant governor, and they could be a big help at answering any questions you or your club may have. Additionally, you can reach out to any members of the PNWOF committee or Jeffrey at pnwkeyclub.org or at any time for questions about the PNWOF grant. Now, I'll pass it off to Lieutenant Governor of Division AYS, Leone, to go over how to determine if the PNWOF is right for you.
Hey, thank you, Kylie. Now, many of you might be asking if the PNWOF is the right fit for your club. Some questions to think about while planning for a PNWOF grant application are: will your club's service project impact your local community or contribute to the district project SEED, ending youth houselessness? Is your potential project going to have a large sustainable impact? Are you and your club willing to work to plan a large-scale service project? Are you willing to cooperate with others outside your club to execute this project successfully? Can you lead the project while simultaneously fundraising or sourcing funds for the other 1/3 of the cost for your club's project? And finally, will your club be able to complete this project before March 31st, 2025? PNWOF projects must be completed and the after-action report submitted prior to March 31st, 2025. Grant recipients will be officially announced and showcased at DCON 2025. Now, I will pass it out to Cheyenne, the Lieutenant Governor of Division 82, who will introduce some past successful PNWOF grant projects.
Thank you, Leone. To anyone asking what a high-impact service project could possibly look like, here are all of the successful PNWOF projects from last year. Clackamas High School was awarded $1,000 for their annual Winter Blitz service project. Clackamas Key Club was able to successfully meet all the requests of the families that signed up for the event. The PNWOF grant funds they received were specifically spent on purchasing needed items for children in each family. McDaniel High School received $760 in grant funds to purchase socks for local homeless shelters in their community. The club members worked with a local charity and organized a drive to distribute the socks efficiently, ensuring each recipient received socks. They utilized the PNWOF funds to provide essential warmth and comfort to those in need within their community. McLaughlin High School was awarded $1,000 to host their Fill a Backpack Make a Smile service project aimed at helping community members in need of school supplies. The PNWOF grant enabled them to help out students in need of school supplies, complete a mid-year backpack drop in schools in their community, and create a store of supplies so they could help individuals in moments of need. Some more examples of successful high-impact service projects from last year include Skyline High School was awarded $150 for their service project, Operation Christmas Stocking. With the PNWOF grant, they were able to fill their stockings with items such as beanies and stuffed animals for children in need during the holiday season. Skyline Key Club was able to make over 60 stockings to give to disadvantaged children across the Bellevue and Issaquah communities. Steilacoom High School was awarded $800 to fund their Winter Care Packages project. The club used the grant to purchase supplies to support local homelessness during the winter season. They partnered with the Tacoma Rescue Mission to produce over 120 care packages, each containing essential winter items such as blankets, fuzzy socks, hair ties, and lip balm. The collaboration with the Tacoma Rescue Mission ensured efficient distribution to those in need. Sumner High School was awarded $400 to purchase fleece for making blankets to support their local food bank. With the dedicated assistance of Sumner Key Club members, they organized a series of blanket making sessions which took place over several days. The PNWOF grant allowed the club to buy fleece in bulk, significantly extending their resources and impact. Lastly, we have Vancouver Technical Secondary School, who received $485 in grant funds to support financially disadvantaged families through Care Kits. They purchased items designed to help children in the Vancouver area stay warm and energized during the cold winter months. With all these materials, they were able to create over 750 care kits for families within their community. Yale Secondary School received a $625 grant to create Christmas care kits for their local homeless shelter. With the PNWOF grant, they purchased a variety of clothing and hygiene products to provide warmth and comfort during the winter months. The items included essentials like sweatpants, underwear, and hoodies, as well as hygiene products such as deodorant. As you can see, the project possibilities are endless. All that is required is your club's creativity and commitment to bettering your community. I will now pass it back to Leonie to introduce our PNWOF panelists.
Hey, thank you, Cheyenne. We will now be moving on to the panel portion of the PNWOF webinar. First, I would like to introduce the panelists who have generously taken the time to be with us today. Vancouver Tech, will the panelists from Vancouver Tech please introduce yourselves?
Hi everyone, my name's Jean. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm Vantech Key Club's president.
Okay, will the panel... Oh my gosh, sorry.
My name is Zadie. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm Vantech Key Club's treasurer.
Okay, will the panelists from Clackamas please introduce yourselves?
Hi everyone, my name is Shannon Lynn. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a co-president at Clackamas Key Club.
And I'm Joanne Liu, and my pronouns are also she, her, and I'm also a co-president at Clackamas Key Club.
I will now turn the program back over to our PNWOF chair, Jeffrey, to moderate the panelist discussion.
Sorry, I was trying to find the unmute button. But thank you, Leonie. I would now like to have the panelists please introduce what your service project was and how it impacted your community. We will start with Vancouver Tech.
Thank you, Jeffrey. So our project was called Cure Kits for Kids, and we made goodie bags for elementary school students. So inside the reusable bags, there were mittens, socks, granola bars, non-perishable food, toothbrushes and toothpaste, soap bars, and a little treat for them as well. We collaborated with another club within our division, Churchill Key Club, and each club made 75 care kits, which is a total of 150.
After we made the care kits, Churchill donated their half to Thunderbird Elementary, and we donated our half to Strathcona Elementary. Our care kits aim to provide a little bit of help to lower income elementary students, especially around the winter time when money can be tight.
We also included some hygienic items to help prevent any illness, since a sick child can put pressure on caregivers, and also uninsured procedures such as teeth cleanings and extractions can be really expensive.
Thank you so much, Jean and Zadie. We will now move to Clackamas High School. Could you explain a little bit about your service project?
Thank you, Jeffrey. Our project Winter Blitz is a 27-year-old tradition that started at Clackamas High School. It is now hosted by Clackamas and Adrian C. Nelson Key Club each year. The goal of our service project is to lend a helping hand to local families in need in the North Clackamas School District. Each adopted family receives essential needs such as food, blankets, warm clothing, toiletries, hygiene products, and household items. On top of this, children receive gifts and toys from their wish list that Key Club volunteers help shop for. Last year, we were able to help support over 600 families in need, and this year we aim to help even more families out depending on the amount of grants and donations received. And on top of that, the success of club fundraisers. Overall, the goal of Winter Blitz is really to make the winter holidays a little more special for families in our community.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Joanne, and thank you for your introduction, panelists. We will now begin our moderated questions and answer period where each panelist will be, or each school rather, will be asked 4 general questions. The first question we have for the panelists is, what was the most fulfilling aspect about applying for and receiving the PNWOF grant? Vancouver Tech, if you would answer first, followed by Clackamas.
The most fulfilling aspect was knowing that we would have the funds to do something bigger than just our school community. Our club has always wanted to produce wide-scale projects, but money has always been a big issue for us. Receiving the grant made us feel like we could really do something more, and that was the most fulfilling for me as club treasurer.
For me, the most fulfilling aspect was knowing that these kids would go directly to elementary school kids that really need them, who lived in the same neighborhoods as us as well, and that we'd be helping with the well-being of our own Vancouver community.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for your answer, Zadie and Jean. Clackamas, you may now answer the question.
Given a minimum goal of funds to be fundraised by our Winter Blitz event coordinator, the most fulfilling aspect of applying for and receiving the PNWOF grant was the relief that financial support was out there to support our project, Winter Blitz. It has empowered us to strengthen our efforts to provide more aid to a larger number of families, and seeing families smiling has gratified us, knowing that we as a club worked hard to be recognized for the meaningful impact we made on our community.
Thank you so much, Shannon. We will now be moving on to our second question. How did receiving a PNWOF grant benefit your club or community? Again, Vancouver Tech, you may begin, and then Clackamas may go second.
Receiving the PNWOF grant gave our club an opportunity to help out our community in a really impactful way. We were able to help out a lot of the struggling families that were in our neighborhoods by providing winter gear and basic necessities for young kids to lessen their financial burden. A lot of us high schoolers who were working on this project were able to go back to our elementary schools and help out, which made us all come together like a family. For the club, since we were funded, our project was a lot bigger than normal, so a lot of our members were able to work together on the same project. This grant allowed our club to bond with not only each other and our neighboring club, Churchill, but also with the community. It helped spark this pride within our club since it's been so long since we have done anything as big as this PNWOF project.
Thank you so much for your answer, Zadie. Clackamas, you may now answer the question.
Receiving the PNWOF grant has brought us closer to our goal of having another successful year of Winter Blitz, with our club officers and members going out to buy gifts, clothing, and toiletry for families. Receiving this grant gave us the possibility to buy more high-quality items for families while also providing for as many families as we can. Not only does the grant help us financially, but it also gives us the opportunity to help additional families in need, which we would have not been able to support without the grant. As a result, families are able to spend the holidays without the worry of not being able to provide essential items for their family, and overall making the holidays more joyful.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Moving on to our third question. What were some obstacles you faced when planning the project, and how did you overcome them? Again, Vancouver Tech, you may begin.
So there were a lot of logistics that we had to figure out before applying for the grant. So since we were collaborating with Churchill Key Club, we had to make time to meet with each other, both in person and online, to figure things out and make sure everyone knew what was happening. However, we did this mostly at the beginning of the school year in September and October, so school wasn't too big of an issue.
Another obstacle we had to overcome was finding products that would fit within our budget, especially since we sourced the last 1/3 of our PNWOF project budget in our own accounts. Originally, our list of items was longer than what we actually ended up including, which means it was a lot more expensive. Due to money constraints, we had to cut down our list and find deals in store. Also, since we're a Canadian club, we had to consider the exchange rate and such in our planning.
Thank you so much for your answer, Jean and Zadie. Clackamas, you may answer.
One of the major obstacles we faced during our planning process of our project was really just getting enough funds to cover the cost of gifts, toiletries, and other household necessities like vacuums and kitchen appliances. To overcome this obstacle, our main focus as officers was to look for events to fundraise. This led to our club asking for donations at our school's football games and selling See's candy to teachers, families, and friends. We also did a bunch of volunteering at a local farm in our community called Leepo Farms and assisted with passing out water cups at running events like the Portland Marathon, Shamrock, and Bridge to Bruges, just to name a few. From each of these events, we were able to fundraise a few hundred to a few $1,000s, which along with PNWOF not only helped us reach our fundraising goal, but also provided part of our funds for decon. Another challenging obstacle we came across was getting enough volunteers to help with the prepping events that leaded up to Winter Blitz, such as donation drops and door decoration events. To combat this obstacle, more officers showed up to every event, and we added incentives to boost member attendance, such as providing snacks to those who came to help out.
Thank you so much for your answer, Joanne. And we will now be moving on to our last question, which is, what advice can you give to someone who is going through the planning slash application process? Vancouver, this is your last question, and then Clackamas, you may go after Vancouver.
So my advice is to stay organized. Our group utilized Google Docs to help us plan and organize costs. Our master document had our detailed plan with our timeline and our logistics planned out. And we also copied and pasted all of the application questions onto the document so we could look at everything on one page and split up parts of the application to make the workload easier. For example, one person would be in charge of managing the budget, and then others would fine tune our plan and answer the questions from the application.
Us execs from both Bantech and Churchill had meetings online and in person to smooth out our plan. We went shopping together, split up tasks, and made sure each person knew what they were responsible for. In addition, we would also recommend being very transparent with your team and communicating with each other whenever a problem or question arises so it can be quickly dealt with.
Thank you so much, Jean and Zadie. Clackamas, you may now answer the question. Clackamas, Joanne.
Oh, I'm sorry, my screen froze. Okay. To someone planning to apply for the PNWOF grant, my biggest piece of advice would be to start early and don't procrastinate. While the application may not be due yet, make sure you've created a general timeline in advance of how and when you will prep and fundraise for your service project. Ensure that your budget is set and be clear about who your project will benefit and how it will benefit them, as this information will be helpful for your application. Also, be sure to message your faculty advisor and Kiwanis advisors ahead of time to inform them that you'll eventually need their approval for your application. Also, if you plan to start a winter giving service project like Winter Blitz, I suggest doing most of the shopping during Black Friday and other big sales, as it really helped us cut down the cost of toys and clothing and household items.
Thank you so much, Joanne. That's all the moderated questions we have. Thank you for your thoughtful responses, panelists, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. This includes the moderated question portion of the webinar. I'll now pass it back to Leonie and Adam to lead the open floor Q&A session.
Hey, thank you, Jeffrey. So please use the Zoom chat or the raise your hand feature to ask any questions you may have of our panelists. You may direct questions to a specific panelist if you choose, but please do not hesitate to ask any questions about the PNWOF application process or the PNWOF grant in general. Please make sure to specify who your question is directed to. Okay, so it seems like we already have a question in the chat. This is, where would the slides be posted?
All right, so I can take that question. So if you filled out the registration form of the RSVP, you will get the email from me say with the slide link. But if you didn't fill out the RSVP, I'm about to send a PNWOF webinar feedback form that you could fill out. We would love to hear your feedback on our webinar. And if you fill out that form, I'll make sure to send out another email with the slide link as well. And you can always email me if you are having trouble accessing the slide deck link. And yeah, of course.
I think we have another question. Sam, you can just say it.
Okay,
No.
cool. Thank you. This can be answered by any of the panelists, but how is the PNWOF committee limited in how much money they can give in total to like all the clubs? I understand like the grant maximum is like $1,000, but are you guys limited to how many times you can give of like funds out to each club? So let's say you just have a lot of clubs and they all have great applications. Are you guys limited in how much money you guys can give?
I think I can take this one. So basically, if we think that for every application that we think is worthy enough, like we'll fund it to however amount it is until it is $1,000. So there is no cap on terms of number of projects we will fund, but it just depends on the quality. We're not going to fund projects that aren't good, even if we have leftover money. But even if there is like multiple or many projects that are very good, we'll still try to find a way to fund them.
Okay, thank you.
Add on to what Adam said. So yes, there will be we do have like a certain budget to follow when it comes to the PNWOF applications, but our goal is to fund as many projects as possible. So just to re-sum up what Adam said, there is a possibility that you won't receive the amount you requested simply because there are a lot of worthy applications. If you submit a worthy and a good application, we will want to fund it in any way possible. And sometimes that might mean not giving you the full amount you requested. Yeah,
Thank you.
of course.
So looks like we just got another question in the chat, and that is, do you have any suggestions on how to determine what a good service project would be? So I can answer that with there are many factors to consider in determining what project is a good fit for your club. Some things to consider are one, how much the project will impact your local community or further the district project. Two, is the project sustainable? Three, can your club develop a successful budget and work plan to execute the project? And four, does your club have adequate resources and members' commitment to see the project through to completion?
I think we also got one just in the chat right now. So the question is, what's the criteria in selecting which club gets a grant, and do all clubs get a grant? So I think I can answer this one. We kind of already explained this a little bit. For do all projects get a grant? That is our goal, like Jeffrey had said. But to answer the first question in this double question, for the criteria for selecting a grant is a like multifaceted criteria. There's a bunch of different categories that the committee looks through, and then we kind of evaluate how the project does and we score it. And depending on how good it is, if it reaches a certain threshold, then we will try and fund that project. But it's a very holistic approach. We consider factors like uniqueness, and also like realistic, like how realistic it is, how well written it is, how well funded it is, and these components make up the entire criteria that we judge it on.
And Kylie talked a little bit about this earlier too, but I can sum up to like what are I think it's five. I'm gonna list them off and maybe it'll come up to more than five. But Kylie also talked about this earlier, and you can also find it in the slide deck. But if you want to write it on a piece of paper now, the the big pieces of criteria that we look at is service to community, membership involvement. So are you involving your members within your service project? Feasibility, is your project feasible? Financial plan, do you give us a in-depth like financial plan, or is it not in-depth at all? Quality of application, that one's kind of obvious. Relation to the district project. Now this one can be kind of back and forth because remember we said earlier that it can either be related to the district project or it can be something that is impactful to your community. And then uniqueness. One thing to consider with uniqueness is to think about if a major community service organization is already doing what you're doing. So think about what resources community already has and what resources you can give to your community that your community may lack. And just putting in the effort to do that research is like very important with the PNWOF application, and it shows.
Okay, so a question for the panelists is, what would you consider, or sorry, what was your favorite part of your service project? And Clackamas, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, so the favorite part of the whole service project, for me at least, was seeing like all the families with like their big smiles as they were walking out the doors. I found it like very satisfying, and like it just felt like the whole planning process, fundraising, the months of fundraising that went to it into it was like worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we also got another question. We were getting a lot of questions. So in the chat, it says, I missed the part where we found out about getting the grant and when will we know if we get it or not? Do you want to answer this one, Jeffrey?
Yes, I can. So applicants are notified by mid-November if they did or did not receive the PNWOF grant. And Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe you can answer this question. If they do get accepted to the PNWOF, when do you expect they will see the check from PNW Key Club?
Their funds are usually released in November.
Right. All right. And Mike is our Kiwanis liaison. So give a little wave to Mike if you want to. And yeah, I think we have another question in the chat. Leonie, I believe.
Yeah, so that would be, can you use the grant money for traveling expenses? And so Cheyenne, would you like to answer that? Or I can also as well. Yeah, I got it. Okay. So the ultimate answer is no. So the PNWOF grant is to be used only for the materials and supplies required to complete your project. Any transportation would be on your own or paid by your club. However, reach out to your sponsoring Kiwanis Club as they may be able to assist your club with transportation as needed.
I'm seeing another question. So the question is, can you apply if you do not have a sponsoring Kiwanis club? So it does make it a little bit harder in terms of your actual project in getting all the money because PNWOF will only fund 2/3 of it. But yes, you can still apply. And what this will probably require is that you work closely with your faculty advisor in trying to figure out the finances and logistics of it. In addition, it'd be really recommended to go out to other adults and resources in the area to get advice and hopefully financial support. And a great example of these people would be your local LTG or your division area administrator.
Okay, and it looks like we have another question for the panelists. What preparation did your club have to do before and during the application process? So anyone who'd like to answer can go ahead.
I can answer this one. So, our club actually started brainstorming about what we wanted to do in like late August, and then we reached out to Churchill and asked them if they were down to do it with us, and they were. And from there on, we just started brainstorming what we could do, what we could put in our kits, and then I also went to last year's PNWOF webinar to, get more information. So you guys are all on the right track. And then after that, we just created like master documents, shared it to everyone who was involved with organizing the project. And then we just worked on answering the questions, figuring out what we were going to do, and problem solving as well. We had a few issues. But yeah, if you have any problems that come up, you can always email Jeffrey, because I remember like as a Canadian club, we were confused about like the conversion rate at some point last year and other things like that. So
Okay, I think I got a really good question in the chat as well. It says, what is the after action report? Does any of the PNWOF committee or want to answer this one, or I can just take it if no one else wants to?
I can answer this one.
Sounds good.
So the after action report is something that you fill out once you've gotten the grant and after you've done your service project, just so we can make sure that you are using the grant funds how you specified you would use them. And so you'll just kind of fill it out with what you did for your project and all of your receipts and everything, and then we will go over that and just see that you have used your funds how they were supposed to be used, and just check up on the progress of your project to make sure that it was successful and that it went how you guys were hoping.
It's a great answer.
Yeah, okay. Seems like we've got another question, and that's, can a club apply to both the PNWOF and the Key Club International's YOF, the Youth Opportunities Fund, for a single service project? And so I can answer that, and the answer is yes, a single club is allowed to apply to both programs for a single service project, as they each have different requirements to apply and are administered by organizations. So the Key Club International YOF program offers grants up to $2,000 and has 2 application cycles. Their first cycle closes on October 15th, 2024, and the information on the Key Club's International YOF program can be found on the Key Club International website.
I think we also got another question for the panelists. So I think, let me read it. So it says, did you think the process of applying for the PNWOF grant was difficult?
I can take that one. So for me personally, I found it very easy, mainly because we had worked with a nonprofit who provided us with like our budget outline and everything. So it only took me like about 1 to 2 hours to fill out the whole application myself.
Would you say like doing events at your high school in general, like before, was helpful in planning like a large scale event? Just like kind of doing other like your local high school key club events?
Well, for us, most of our events were mainly for fundraising. Like we had a huge like farm event which lasted like a whole month. It was like every weekend, and we needed about like 40-ish volunteers every day. So I guess the fundraising helped.
Sounds good. Thank you for your answer.
All right, I think that's all the questions in the chat. This wraps up the end of our PNWOF webinar. Thank you to the entire PNWOF committee and our panelists. If you have any additional questions that we weren't able to answer tonight, or think of any in the next few weeks, please feel free to reach out to me at treasurer@pnwkeyclub.org or pinwof@pnwkeyclub.org, and I would be more than happy to answer any of your questions. You can find updates about the PNWOF on our Instagram, website, and newsletters, so please keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much for attending the PNWOF webinar, and I cannot wait to see what service projects you submit, and I can't wait to see all of you at DCON 2025 in Seattle, Washington. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.